The last thing he wrote before the fire was a single sentence.
If a little girl ever little lived with him.
I don't remember my daughter's face anymore. When the police found Elias Mercer sitting on the sidewalk outside his burning apartment, his hands were still black with ash. The neighbors said he never screamed, never asked for help. He only kept staring at the fourth-floor window where the flames swallowed 20 years of notebooks, manuscripts, photographs, and unfinished stories. Then he asked the paramedic a question that made everyone uncomfortable. Was there ever a little girl in my apartment? Not where is my daughter? Not did she survive? Just, was there ever a little girl? The paramedic thought he was in shock. But the truth was worse. Because Elias Mercer had once been one of the most celebrated novelists in the country. A man whose words made strangers cry in bookstores. A man who could describe grief so perfectly people believed he must have survived every tragedy he wrote about. But 6 years before the fire, Elias stopped writing. And 3 years before the fire, he stopped remembering. Not everything, only the important things. The first thing he lost was his wife's laugh. He remembered she used to laugh. He remembered the shape of her mouth. He remembered she hated thunderstorms and overwatered plants and always folded towels wrong. But the sound of her laughter vanished from his mind one Tuesday morning while brushing his teeth. Just gone. He stood frozen in the bathroom trying to hear it again. Nothing. Like someone had stolen a song from the world. He didn't tell anyone. At first, he convinced himself it was stress. Writers forgot things all the time. Sleepless nights. Deadlines. Interviews. Pressure. But then came the dinner party. A woman hugged him warmly and said, "Elias, it's been too long." And he smiled. Because he had no idea who she was. He spent the entire evening pretending. Pretending he remembered conversations. Pretending he understood references. Pretending he knew why everyone suddenly became quiet whenever his daughter's name was mentioned. That night, he searched through old photographs until sunrise. There she was. A little girl with dark curls sitting on his shoulders at the beach. A little girl asleep beside him on the couch. A little girl holding a handwritten sign that read, "Daddy's first bestseller." He stared at her face for hours. And still, nothing moved inside him. No memory. No voice. No warmth. Just panic. He finally went to a doctor after he forgot the way home from his publisher's office, a building he had visited for 11 years. The neurologist asked simple questions. "What did you eat yesterday?" He answered easily. "What's your daughter's birthday?" Silence. The doctor's expression changed. More tests followed. Scans. Evaluations. Memory exercises. Then the diagnosis. A rare degenerative neurological condition triggered and accelerated by trauma and chronic insomnia. The doctor explained it carefully. "You were losing autobiographical memory first. Emotional linked recall. Your brain is protecting itself by disconnecting from painful attachments." Elias laughed when he heard that. "Protecting me." He almost shouted it. "You call this protection?" Because by then, his wife Claire was already dead. Car accident. Rainstorm. Drunk driver. And apparently his mind had decided the only way to survive her death was to slowly erase her. Piece by piece. Like she had never existed. He tried everything after that. Voice recordings. Sticky notes. Thousands of labeled photographs. He turned his apartment into a museum of his own life. This is your daughter, Maya. You met Claire at a train station in Boston. Your favorite color is green. You hate cinnamon. Some mornings he woke up and recognized everything. Other mornings he walked through the apartment reading the walls like a stranger studying evidence. But the cruelest part wasn't forgetting people. It was forgetting he loved them. His daughter Maya noticed first. She was 14 when she stopped asking him to tell bedtime stories. Because every night he told them differently. Different names. Different endings. Once, he forgot she existed halfway through a conversation. She found him standing in the kitchen staring at her school picture on the fridge. "Who took this photo?" he asked. She didn't answer. She just walked back to her room and locked the door. Children know when someone is disappearing. Even before adults admit it. Elias tried to keep writing through all of it. But the words became unstable. Characters changed names between chapters. Entire plotlines vanished from his memory overnight. One morning he opened his manuscript and discovered 30 pages he had no memory of writing. Another morning he reread his own novel and realized he couldn't understand the ending. Publishers stopped calling. Fans stopped waiting. The world moved on. But Elias became obsessed with one terrifying idea. If memories could disappear, could love disappear too? That question destroyed him more than the illness itself. Because he watched it happen. First with Claire, then with Maya. One afternoon Maya visited after weeks of silence. She sat across from him holding an old notebook. "You wrote this for Mom," she said softly. Elias opened it. Inside was a letter written 20 years earlier. It described the exact moment he fell in love with Claire. The rain. The train station. The red scarf around her neck. He read the words 3 times. Then looked up at Maya and whispered, "I don't remember writing this." Maya nodded like she expected that answer. But then she asked something he would never forgive himself for. "Do you remember loving us?" And Elias couldn't speak. Because he didn't know. Maya cried silently. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just the kind of crying that comes from realizing someone is leaving while they're still alive. She moved out 2 months later. After that, the apartment became quieter. Then dirtier. Then darker. Elias stopped answering calls. Stopped opening curtains. Stopped trying. Sometimes he found notes in his own handwriting that frightened him. "You forget more when you sleep. Don't trust tomorrow." And eventually, "Burn the notebooks before you forget why they matter." The fire happened on a winter night. Investigators said it started in his office, near stacks of journals soaked in lighter fluid. But no one ever proved whether Elias did it intentionally. He claimed he couldn't remember. And maybe he truly couldn't. That's the part that haunts me. Not the fire. Not the illness. Not even the forgetting. It's what happened after. Because weeks later, while recovering in a rehabilitation center, Elias found a small object in the pocket of the coat he wore the night of the fire. A cassette tape. Old. Half melted. Labeled in faded handwriting, "For the days you forget US." The nurses found him crying before anyone heard the tape play. Inside was Claire's voice, laughing first, then speaking softly. "If you're listening to this, it means the memories are disappearing again." A pause. We knew this day might come. Then another voice entered. Maya's. Younger. Small. "Hi Daddy." Elias collapsed before the tape finished. Staff members said he kept repeating the same sentence over and over. Not "I remember now." Not "I'm cured." I thought losing memory meant losing love. But he was wrong. Because even after his mind burned entire years into nothing, even after names vanished, even after faces disappeared, his hands still trembled hearing their voices. His heart still recognized them before his brain did. And maybe that's the cruelest and most beautiful thing about being human. Sometimes love